The UFC 328 press conference just happened, and I'm about to give you my live reaction to the press conference. But before I start, I want to just say this is exactly what the UFC has needed recently. Press conferences have not really been that good, not building hype. Even Josh Hokett, that was the most hype it's been, and those were just rehearsed lines, no real beef. This one got me hyped for the fights. This is the first time I felt my heart rate speeding up during a press conference in a long time. So now let me get to what actually happened in the press conference because a lot happened. To start off, they started arguing right away. Khamzat and Sean walked onto the stage, had to instantly be separated by the security, who, by the way, was there waiting before any of them got there. Matter of fact, the security was actually planning ahead of time what they were going to do in preparation for this because they knew how hyped this was going to get. But this press conference was crazy. It started off right away with them arguing. Instantly, they got to arguing. Khamzat says, "What's up now?" saying, I guess implying he didn't think Sean was going to be the same in his face. But Sean says Khamzat is all talk, arguing right away. The moment they sit down, Khamzat says, Sean, he's Sean's daddy, and he's going to make him cry again, just like his dad did. More arguing happens. Sean talks about how Khamzat is a Kadyrov D-rider. If you don't know who Kadyrov is, that's the dictator of the place Khamzat is from, Chechnya. And Khamzat actually was a refugee who ran away from Chechnya to, I believe, Switzerland, and then came back once he got a little more disposable income, is what we'll call it, and a little more fame. And now the dictator is a big fan of his, funds his lifestyle, does basically anything for Khamzat, as long as Khamzat follows him, is what most people think is happening. And Sean kept calling out Khamzat for that throughout the press conference. He talks about Khamzat being the Kadyrov D-rider and says he got his G-Wagon from the dictator. I'm pretty sure then Khamzat said that Sean was just jealous that he didn't have a G-Wagon, and he called Sean a poor, where Sean then responded and said he'd much rather have morals and be poor living in a trailer than rich in a D-rider for a dictator. And I thought that was a pretty good line from Sean. Sean had a lot of good lines in this press conference. I'll get to it later, but Khamzat, for a lot of this, was really just yelling the same lines over and over again. He'd find a line he liked and then just repeat it over and over and over again. Actually, let me find an example of this. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to show actual clips of the press conference because of copyright, but right here is when Sean was saying some line about, I forget what it even was, saying he wishes Khamzat would wrestle because he will out-wrestle him. He hopes he wrestles, and all Khamzat kept saying back is, shut up, shut up, shut up, and blah, 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 whatever he was saying. And it was just the same thing over and over again. So it did get annoying at some point, but it still did make it more hype. And also at the beginning, Oscar Willis actually was asking some pretty good questions. Oscar Willis was asking about the sparring session between Khamzat and Sean, and he asked, will they be enemies till the day they died? And they both agreed, yeah, they definitely will be enemies. And Khamzat got some pretty big boos from the crowd, which is a little surprising. I knew Strickland would be the fan favorite, but I thought Khamzat would have more fans in the crowd. But looks like Sean definitely has the audience on his side, at least in America. And Khamzat says he's actually happy about this fight, all the trash talk, fighting Sean, because he gets to smash this guy and make money. And Sean says he was there when Khamzat retired, and he said he let the common cold retire him, talking about when Khamzat got COVID and temporarily did retire because of the health issues. He said that he was there when Khamzat got the call, or called and said that he would be retiring. And so he was making fun of Khamzat for that. And again, Khamzat's only response was, shut up, shut up. This guy, his dad, da-da-da. He was saying the same lines over and over again. And Sean says he'd beat Khamzat anywhere, in the streets, in the hotel, in the cage, at the press conference, anywhere. He would beat Khamzat up. And he also called him multiple times the Chechnyan whore, implying again him being the fanboy of the dictator, that of the country he fled from, which Sean did call out how he fled from the country. The moment he got fame and money, he left the country he fled to and went back to Chechnya, where he would then be raking in the benefits from being rich. I do agree with Sean. That is a little bit weird. Not a little bit. It's very weird. And Joshua Van and Tyra didn't get too many questions. I think both of them maybe got 2 questions each, kind of toward the beginning of the press conference. Joshua Van said that he's enjoying the press conference, though. So he was probably happy he didn't get too many questions. Tyra probably was too for a different reason. Tyra, he had a little bit of a hard time with the translations. He may be a little bit autistic. That's okay. He's getting slept out cold on Saturday, but I'm still a fan of Tyra. And I believe Tyra also said they asked if the crowd wanted respectful talking between him and Joshua Van, I guess. And he said that this fight will decide who the real champion is. Again, very autistically, but it probably also was just the language barrier. And I saw a message in the live chat that I thought was hilarious. Said Tyra was probably just thinking about not letting Khamzat in his store during the whole press conference, which was throwing him off. There might be some truth to that, actually. I don't know. We'll see. And Sean called Khamzat fans heathens and said that they have to get out of America, and says that his fans are men and Khamzat fans are ruled by men better than them. And I thought that was a pretty good line from Sean, because it did seem to strike Khamzat pretty hard, because he stopped repeating his same lines over and over again and instead started saying that America loves him and all these sort of things, and then started talking more about Sean's dad, went right back to his usual lines. And Sean called him out for talking about child abuse. Those lines do seem to get to Sean a little bit. DDP, it got to him, and it's getting to him with Khamzat. And those are the only opponents to call that out, and both of them have gotten a pretty good reaction from him. So if any future Sean opponents want to get to him, that's the way to go. And Sean is not making it hard for them to realize that. And again, he called Sean poor and said that he's rich. I'm not sure how good that line was, considering the fact that Sean was calling him out for being the Dagestani, or sorry, this my bad. I'm mixing up my Caucasus regions, for being the Chechenian whore. Yeah, I'm not sure how good of a line that was, considering the circumstances. And then Sean called him the F slur. I can't say that here on YouTube, but he did call him the F slur. Actually, he dropped two of them. I was surprised at the first one, but I thought that was going to be the only one. Then he dropped the second one. The second F slur has dropped. Khamzat says Sean is scared and says that he has more fans in America than Sean. And when Sean called him a terrorist, or one of the reporters asked about Sean calling him a terrorist, Khamzat said he is a terrorist and he will take Sean's head off. And that same reporter, I believe he was talking to, asked Sean if he is an internet warrior. And Sean responded back with saying to kick all Muslims out of the country. This was a crazy press conference. He called Khamzat fans dirty. He said Khamzat wouldn't fight alone. He will only fight in the streets if he has a huge group around him, which is kind of true. And he even called out the Costa incident, where Costa was at the PI and Khamzat had a bunch of guys pretend to hold him back. Khamzat easily could have gotten to Costa, but he was saying, hold me back, hold me back. Well, Paulo was there with one other person, arms wide open, ready to brawl if needed to be. So that does seem to be a theme with Khamzat, not willing to fight outside the octagon alone. Maybe because he knows he can't nut hug Sean. I'm just joking a little bit. Anyway, they both agree that there's no mutual respect after this fight, and I would not have expected there to be anyway. And at this point, though, in the press conference, toward the end, I was getting a little annoyed. Sean actually had some pretty decent lines that he wasn't able to get out because Khamzat just kept talking over him the whole time, yelling. When Khamzat was talking, Sean would let him talk because he knows he's confident in what he's saying. He knows that whatever Khamzat said, he'd be confident in saying something back. But Khamzat seemed to be a little insecure about what Sean was saying and constantly tried to talk over him. I did notice that. I don't think that means anything in terms of the fight, but I think Khamzat's a lot more nervous than he's letting on. And then we get to the face-off. I had to shrink this a little bit, so hopefully I don't get copyrighted. But here's right here. At first, I was thinking it was just going to be pretty heated, them yelling at each other, all that sort of stuff. But then right here, you're about to see Khamzat shoves Sean or kicks him, just charges at him. I don't know exactly what happened there, but it looked like Sean was about to start brawling back if the security guards had not held him back. Man, I am hyped for this fight. This is going to be a good one, and I'm pretty confident. I'm not as confident, actually, in my Khamzat pick anymore. He did seem a little nervous during this press conference, I have to be honest. Sean did as well. The comments about his dad did get to him. But Khamzat, I didn't expect him to engage this much in the trash talk. Last times he's engaged in the trash talk like this, a little bit. It was even professional during the Usman fight. It was just the face-off beforehand, all that sort of stuff. And then he kind of brawled a little bit. But only time I've really seen him get this involved in the trash talk was, well, two actually. The GM3 fight a little bit, but again, not as big of a scale. And there, he didn't shoot a takedown right away. He decided to brawl on the feet. And the Gilbert Burns fight, again, another fight where he decided to brawl on the feet. So I'm a little bit worried about this. Yeah, he shot a takedown on Burns early, but I think he was more willing to strike, go to war, just because of the personal trash talk. So if you're a Khamzat fan, this should maybe worry you just a little bit. But again, this probably means nothing. And I'm not mad at it because this is the most hype I've been for a UFC fight in such a long time. And a big part of that is because of the press conference. I knew this would happen. And I'm pretty sure this press conference peaked at 200K live viewers. We don't get numbers like that at press conferences anymore. I'm pretty sure the last one didn't even peak at 100K. Most of them only peak at like 50K. And the last one was entertaining, big names. This is going to be a great fight week, hype fight. Even if the fight ends up being boring, which a lot of these hyped up fights do end up being, it'll still be a very hyped fight. All right, guys, that's it for today. Let me know what you guys thought about the press conference. I personally think Sean won it, but that doesn't really mean anything when it comes to the fight. So let me know who you thought won this press conference, who you thought performed better. And remember, subscribe and like. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.